It's been 7 years since I left that house. But every October, right on the 31st, a letter still finds me, postmarked from a place no one else remembers. And every letter is signed by someone who should be dead. I didn't move to Hollow Hill to chase ghosts. I moved there to run from something else. A breakup, a job that burned me out, a life that no longer felt like mine. All I wanted was quiet, and I found it in a century-old farmhouse off Route 11. No neighbors, no reception, just pine trees and silence. The real estate agent said the place was peaceful. I remember her eyes darting when she said it. I should have listened. It was October. The house creaked like it had lungs, but the porch was wide, and the air smelled like leaves and old wood. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I made tea, lit a candle, and sat on the front steps. The stars above were so bright, it hurt to look at them. That's when I saw it. The mailbox rusted shut when I arrived, stood wide open. Inside, a single white envelope, clean, untouched by wind or dirt. No return address. My name, handwritten, on the front. I looked around. Nothing but trees. No cars, no footprints. I opened the letter with shaking hands. You will spill your tea at 9:47 p.m. Don't be alarmed. I checked the time. 9:46. I laughed, nervous, uneasy. I started to stand, and my hand knocked the cup clean off the step. It shattered against the wood. Scalding liquid splashed my leg. I froze. The letter fluttered in the breeze like it was proud. And somewhere in the woods, something was watching. The next morning, I convinced myself it was a coincidence. Some elaborate prank, maybe. A leftover from a previous tenant. I even told myself the time on my phone could have been off. But that didn't explain the handwriting. It was mine. Not exactly. The loops were wider, the slant a little off. But it felt familiar, like a mirror held too close to the face. I tossed the letter in the fire and promised myself I was overthinking. Then the second one came. This time, I checked the mailbox first thing. I don't know why. Habit, maybe? Or something deeper. Instinct. And there it was, sealed, white, waiting. I opened it on the porch, heart hammering. Don't forget to turn off the kettle at 8:12. The kettle was cold. I hadn't used it. I stood there staring at the words when the power flickered. The porch light buzzed, and inside I heard the shrill whine of the kettle boiling over. I ran inside, burned my hand yanking it off the stove. 8:12. That night, I slept with all the lights on. The letters kept coming. One a day. They weren't always frightening. You'll drop a spoon. The wind will blow open the window at 3:14. A bird will hit the glass. Each time, they were right. I started checking the mailbox like it was part of my morning routine. Brush teeth, make tea, retrieve letter from the unknown. But the one on the 6th day stopped me cold. Don't answer the knock. I stared at the envelope for a long time. It didn't explain when the knock would come, just that it would. The silence that day was unbearable. Every creak of the house, every groan of the floorboards put me on edge. Then, at 2:13 a.m., the sound came. A knock. Slow. Deliberate. Once. Twice. Then silence. I sat in bed, breath held, staring at the front door. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The knock never came again. But the next morning, I found muddy footprints on the porch. No return prints, just 2 dark impressions leading up to the door, and the next letter tucked beneath the doormat. I stopped telling anyone about the letters. I tried once, called my sister, told her everything. She laughed. "You always loved ghost stories," she said. But this didn't feel like a story. It felt like something trying to write me into one. I began to notice strange details in the house, things that hadn't been there when I moved in. A faint humming sound in the hallway at night, a draft coming from behind the kitchen cabinet, and most of all, a cold spot in the guest bedroom. No matter what time of day, no matter how warm the rest of the house was, that room was always icy. I checked the windows, sealed, checked for vents. Nothing. Then one night, I heard it. Whispering. Not loud, just barely audible, like someone talking through a wall a few rooms away. I pressed my ear to the bedroom floor, heart thudding. "She's reading again." The voice was low. Not male, not female, not human. I leapt up, left the room, slammed the door. The next morning, I found a new letter on the doormat. "We hear you too." I dropped it. I couldn't breathe. Who was we? That night, I tried to distract myself. Music, TV, wine. But around midnight, I heard it again. Scratching. Slow, deliberate, from inside the walls. The scratching turned to dragging, then tapping. It moved from the living room, down the hallway, toward my bedroom. I didn't move. I didn't speak. The noise stopped just outside my door. And then I heard breathing. Heavy, close, wet. Something exhaled against the keyhole. I sat there, frozen until dawn. When I finally opened the door, nothing. No sound, no marks. Except a new envelope slipped under the door. The ink smeared. "Don't open the attic." I didn't even know the house had an attic until I looked up and saw the string swaying gently from the ceiling. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the attic string, waiting for it to move. It never did. But in the morning, not 1, but 7 letters sat in a neat stack on the doormat. Each was dated. Each bore a different day's warning, and each envelope was sealed with the same symbol I hadn't noticed before. A black circle, faintly inked, with tiny thorns twisting around its edges. Letter 1, "You'll see her in the mirror. Don't speak." That night, brushing my teeth, the mirror fogged, except for the center. A clear oval. A face, not mine, stared back. Lips unmoving, eyes wide. I dropped the toothbrush, ran. Letter 2. If you hear humming, don't open any doors. At 2:11 a.m., the humming began. Low, melodic. It came from everywhere. My closet door rattled gently. The front door handle twitched. But I stayed still, and eventually, it passed. Letter 3. The phone will ring. Do not answer. It isn't them. The landline I'd never plugged in shrieked. It rang once, twice. By the third ring, every light in the house dimmed. I hid in the bathtub until sunrise. Letter 4. The attic wants to be opened. Don't. But the string was gone. In its place, a square panel in the ceiling, slightly ajar, and the sound of something shifting very slowly above me. Letter 5. The forest will come closer. I looked outside. The trees, once a good 50 feet from the porch, now touched the gravel drive. Branches pressed against the windows like fingers. Letter 6. She will whisper your name from the walls. Ignore her. I tried, but at 3:03 a.m., I heard it. Marla, over and over, always right behind me, even when I turned. Letter 7. Leave before the last letter arrives. I grabbed my keys. The car started this time. No resistance. The woods looked darker than ever. The trees bent inward as I drove, like they didn't want me to leave. But I didn't stop. When I reached the highway, I looked back. The road behind me was gone, replaced by fog and pine, and one final thing in the passenger seat. An envelope. Unopened. The envelope sat beside me on the passenger seat, white, sealed, unassuming. I didn't touch it at first. I just drove. The highway was empty, but I kept checking the rearview mirror, expecting I don't even know what. Something to rise from the fog, something to follow. But nothing did. I told myself not to open it. I told myself that whatever was inside didn't matter anymore. I was out. I'd made it. But you can't leave a sentence unfinished, not when it's been written for you. So I pulled over, middle of nowhere, under a dead highway light that flickered like it had a heartbeat. I peeled the envelope open with shaking fingers. Inside was one line, handwritten, but no longer in my own looping style. It read, "You never left." I read it 3 times. Then I looked around. The trees were wrong. Closer again. Too close, leaning in like curious faces. The gas station across the road. I hadn't seen it when I pulled in, but there it was now, glowing faintly. And something about the logo on the window. Ashfern General. No, that was impossible. I stepped out of the car. The sound hit me instantly. That humming again, low, constant. It vibrated through my shoes. The road behind me? Gone, swallowed by mist. The letter in my hand was no longer paper. It crumbled like dried leaves, blackened my fingertips. I turned back to the car to grab my phone, but it wasn't there. Neither was the car. I stood in the middle of an empty road, no vehicles, no phone, no bag. And when I looked down at my clothes, they weren't mine. Not the jeans I'd worn for 2 days, not my sweatshirt. A long, faded nightgown, buttoned at the neck. And my hands, older, thinner, wrinkled. A voice behind me said, "She's back." I turned. The house. It was there. Just behind the trees, the porch light on, the door wide open, waiting.
I don't remember walking toward the house. One moment I was staring at it across the road, across the woods, and the next my feet were on its porch. The floorboards creaked the way I remembered. The air smelled the same, like dust, old paper, and something deeper, something like mold and memory. Inside, the furniture was covered in white sheets again, like no one had been here for years, like I had never been here at all. And yet, the teacup I broke on the first day still shattered on the floor. The third step on the staircase, still loose. It gave the same hollow thunk when I stepped on it. A mirror in the hallway reflected me, but not as I looked in my memory. Not as I remembered. I was older. Not much, but enough. A few more lines in my face, my eyes tired, worn. I walked through the house in silence, and then I saw it. On the kitchen table, one envelope, unsealed. Inside, a single page, typed, "Try again." I dropped it. Then the sound began again, scraping, whispering, the same low hum. It was starting over. I ran to the front door, locked. I tried the back, bricked over. The windows, painted shut. I sprinted upstairs. The guest bedroom door was open. Inside, a bed made neatly. The wardrobe cracked open. The mirror spotless. And in the center of the floor, a woman, face down, unmoving, wearing my old clothes. Same shoes, same shirt with the tiny bleach stain on the sleeve. No. I reached out, hesitated, then turned her over. She had my face, except not quite. A version of me frozen in time, mouth slightly open, eyes glazed. She wasn't breathing. I backed out of the room slowly, one hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. And then I heard the sound again, a letter sliding under the door. I ran to it. It said, "You're almost ready." My vision blurred. I dropped to my knees. I didn't know what that meant, what it wanted, who we was. But one thing became clear. I hadn't escaped. I had never left. And maybe I never would.
Some houses aren't haunted by ghosts. They're haunted by you. And they'll keep rewriting your story until you finally forget it was ever yours. If this gave you chills, subscribe to Summer X for more stories like this. Hit the bell. You don't want to miss what's waiting in the next one.